And as Xi Jinping arrived in Saudi Arabia is slipping into Chinese embrace. Has America already bowed down before Saudi Arabia? Just how far is it willing to go to woo the Saudi crown prince? Let me now take you to the United States to answer that question. There has been an interesting development there. A lawsuit against MBS has been dismissed. Which lawsuit? The one filed by the fiancé of Jamal Khashoggi. The Saudi dissident who was murdered in Istanbul, his fiancée blamed the Saudi crown prince for the killing, and she took the matter to a federal court in the US, hoping that the court would do justice to her plea. And guess what? A US federal judge has thrown the lawsuit out. Why? Because of Joe Biden. Let me explain that. Last month, Joe Biden granted immunity to MBS, shielding him from any legal action. And on what grounds? On the grounds of him being the head of a state. Let me read from a court filing by the US State Department. Here's what it states. The State Department recognizes and allows the immunity of Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman as a sitting head of government of a foreign state. Prime Minister bin Salman, as a sitting head of government, is immune while in office from the jurisdiction of the United States District Court in this suit. This was last month. A month on, a US federal judge has used this decision as the pretext to dismiss the lawsuit. He said he didn't want to, but he had no choice, given Joe Biden's decision. In any case, the judge has given a 25-page ruling. Let me quote the most telling excerpts. Despite the court's uneasiness then with both the circumstances of bin Salman's appointment and the credible allegation of his involvement in Khashoggi's murder, the United States has informed the court that he is immune. In other words, what the judge meant was that his hands are tied. In fact, he even acknowledged a quote-unquote uneasiness in making the decision. Why then did he give in? Isn't it the judiciary that has the last say on important matters? Well, in the United States, not really. In his decision, the judge stressed that American law requires the judiciary to show deference to executive branch opinions on foreign immunity. Let me quote from his ruling again. The executive branch remains responsible for foreign affairs, including with Saudi Arabia, and a contrary decision on bin Salman's immunity by this court would unduly interfere with those responsibilities all the same. In other words, what the judge meant was this. The judiciary has to politely accept and respect the administration's decisions when it comes to foreign affairs. Next question. What does this ruling mean for MBS? Two things. One, it means he can now travel to the US and other jurisdictions freely. Two, his financial interests in America are no longer in jeopardy. Had the lawsuit proceeded, the case would have created a legal minefield for MBS and his business interests in America. And three, this likely marks the end of efforts to hold MBS accountable. The Biden administration's immunity will most likely protect him from any further lawsuits, at least in America. Now, I can't help but question the timing of this decision. It comes on the same day when Xi Jinping is in Riyadh. So on the face of it, this seems like an attempt by the US to stop Riyadh from drifting towards China. Remember, ties between America and Saudi Arabia are at the lowest in decades, mainly because of the Russia-Ukraine war. America wants Riyadh to ramp up oil production and help make up for the loss of Russian oil. The Saudis say this will only destabilize the markets, so the issue remains in a deadlock. Even Joe Biden's visit to Riyadh and subsequent fist bumps did not quite help. And to add to America's worries, the Chinese president is now in Riyadh. MBS has rolled out the red carpet for him. He plans to infuse the trip with a dose of spectacle and an array of extravagant expressions of friendship. America is bound to be unnerved. I am not saying this court verdict was pre-planned or preponed, but it does make one suspicious. Another thing this verdict depicts is a colossal U-turn by Joe Biden. Let me take you back to 2019 for that. This is when Joe Biden was still a candidate for the US presidency. Do you remember the promises that he made during his campaign? He had vowed to hold MBS accountable for Jamal Khashoggi's killing and turn the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia into a global pariah. Just 3 years later, the same Biden administration has granted MBS immunity. How do we perceive this? Why has Joe Biden broken his own promises? What made him grant immunity to MBS? Has America knelt a little before the Saudis? And if yes, then why? These are questions American citizens must ask their president. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.